genius at stopping you from doing, by the way. He stops you from getting into a rhythm. He stops you from getting into a flow where you're comfortable. Because there's a couple of times
that Mike Tyson for a round or two.
First time he gets cracked, it's gonna, I guarantee you, his head's gonna be like, oh shit.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
How many rounds is it?
Daniel Dubois has never been one to bite his tongue, but his recent confrontation with Joseph Parker during a live broadcast felt different. This wasn't just another young heavyweight talking tough. It was a fighter spitting pure defiance at a man many now view as the most dangerous contender in the division. Dubois locked his eyes on the camera, his voice steady. But laced with fire, and delivered a sharp warning to Parker. "I've got the sharper weapons and I'll break Parker apart, piece by piece." It was a bold declaration, the kind that carries the conviction of a man determined to rewrite his story. Dubois wasn't just calling out an opponent, he was attempting to silence his critics and rebuild his reputation. But beneath his bravado there lingers a shadow that even Dubois...
Chris Eubank Jr. needs to settle with him as soon as possible, because he ain't going to win that, that's for sure. She's stupid. I don't know what, I don't understand what why he would even say that, what he said. It's just ridiculous.
Can't fully escape. Fans haven't forgotten that not too long ago, Dubois pulled out of a scheduled fight with Parker citing illness. That memory still haunts him, shaping how the boxing world interprets his words today. For some, his fire...
Had that rumor fallen your ears at all?
No, it's the first I've heard of that. News to me. But people get dropped in sparring, but generally is news to me. I've not heard that.
Statements feel less like a promise and more like a gamble, an attempt to mask lingering doubts about his readiness for this level of competition. Still, Dubois didn't stop there. He went even further, claiming he's now operating on a completely different level. He vowed to test Parker's chin like no one ever has. The problem: Parker's chin has already been tested, and tested by some of the hardest punchers in modern heavyweight boxing. Deontay Wilder, with his sledgehammer right hand, couldn't break Parker. Zhilei Zhang, the massive southpaw with terrifying power, couldn't do it either. So when Dubois talks about shattering Parker's defenses, his words ring louder than they land. They create noise, not necessarily danger, but in boxing, noise matters. It fuels anticipation, builds storylines, and keeps the fight game alive. Parker, however, wasn't swayed by Dubois' fiery trash talk. His response was cold, calm, and deeply unsettling.
Because that's only sparring. If you get dropped in sparring, it means you're learning. Tomorrow morning you don't get dropped in the same shot. So him getting dropped in sparring, that means he's learning on the job. So it's okay. Who cares? Alexander usually gets dropped in sparring, but he's...
When I step in that ring, I'll take everything from Dubois, his belt, his pride, his will. I'll strip it all away. Parker didn't need to raise his voice. His measured words carried the weight of experience, the quiet menace of a man who's been through wars and come out stronger. Promoter Eddie Hearn, a man who has seen countless fighters rise and fall, offered his perspective, and it sounded like a warning for Dubois. Hearn believes Parker is currently in the best form of his career, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually. When a fighter is sharp in every aspect, Hearn explained, he's almost impossible to break. He emphasized that timing is everything in boxing, and right now timing appears to be on Parker's side. Parker's trainer Andy Lee broke down the matchup with clinical precision. Lee argued that Dubois doesn't bring...
I'm hearing things that he's been dropped in the ring, in the gym and stuff like that. But that's okay too, because I took a couple spills, little slips in the ring, in the gym. That's okay, but we're going to see this.
Anything Parker hasn't already faced before. Parker has gone up against bigger men like Zhang, faster punchers like Wilder, and awkward southpaws with tricky styles. In Lee's view, Dubois is essentially a familiar challenge, a different version of opponents Parker has already conquered. Experience, Lee stressed, is Parker's greatest weapon, and in heavyweight boxing, when raw power collides with battle-tested experience, experience usually wins. Boxing analyst Johnny Nelson added another layer of intrigue. He revealed that Parker will enter this fight at the heaviest weight of his career. While some might see this as a red flag, possibly slowing Parker down, Nelson insisted it's part of a deliberate strategy. This isn't reckless. Nelson said, this is preparation. The added weight, Nelson explained, will help Parker absorb Dubois' physicality in the clinches, where Dubois...
You heard that rumor.
It's good, because that's only sparring. If you get dropped in sparring, it means you're learning. Tomorrow morning you don't get dropped in the same shot. So him getting dropped in sparring, that
is likely to lean, wrestle, and try to impose his strength. More importantly, Nelson pointed out a fundamental truth. Parker is the superior technician, and when raw power meets sound technique, especially in the later rounds, the technician almost always prevails. Parker himself addressed a harsh reality that many fans overlook: boxing politics. He admitted he wasn't entirely certain this fight would even happen next. "It's not about fear," Parker said, "it's about awareness." He knows that fights are often decided in boardrooms, not just training camps. While Dubois desperately needs this bout to redefine himself, Parker doesn't hinge his career on a single matchup. His calm, professional mindset is yet another weapon in his arsenal, keeping him grounded while Dubois fights with urgency. Former world champion Tony Bellew was effusive in his praise for Parker, calling him the most in-form heavyweight in the world today.
See improvement there for Conor, and I do think the results will be different the other way around in the next fight. I think it'll go the distance all over.
Parker's recent victories weren't just wins, they were statements. Beating Zhilei Zhang, the seemingly unstoppable juggernaut, was impressive enough, but outclassing Deontay Wilder, the most feared knockout artist in the division, was something else entirely. Parker has become a giant killer, Bellew declared. Unlike hype-driven reputations, Parker's rise is backed by results, tangible proof of his evolution into one of the sport's elite. Bellew didn't hesitate to draw a stark contrast between Parker and Dubois. While Parker is surging with momentum and confidence, Dubois is still fighting to erase doubts about his resilience and heart. As the fight approaches, the storyline is clear. Dubois, the young powerhouse, seeking redemption and respect. Parker, the seasoned technician, standing tall as the most dangerous man in the division. In a sport where noise and narratives often collide with brutal reality, one question looms large. Will Dubois finally prove he belongs among the elite, or will Parker strip away more than just...
Because that was a hard fight, the first one. This one will be another hard fight, whoever wins, unless there's a real freak occurrence, not a freak occurrence, unless someone gets caught with the shot really early, then it's going to be a hard night. Which you still have to make Eubank the favourite again, like I did the first time.
His belt. When Daniel Dubois has stepped up against elite opposition, his performances have raised more questions than answers. Against Alexander Usyk, Dubois landed one controversial body shot before fading out of the contest. Against Joe Joyce, he infamously quit on his stool. Tony Bellew didn't sugarcoat his assessment. Dubois has a worrying tendency to wilt when the going gets tough. Bellew said, "In heavyweight boxing, that's not just a flaw, it's a fatal weakness." Fans have seen it with their own eyes, and Bellew simply voiced what many were already thinking. Dubois has yet to prove he can stand firm when the fire is hottest. For Dubois, the criticism cuts deep, but he fired back with defiance. "I'm improving, I'm maturing, and I'm willing to give everything I've got left to become a two-time heavyweight champion," he declared. His words sounded brave and inspiring, but skeptics remain.
We're going to poke and prod, but the fact is we created something special. We're going to try and create something even more special November 15th. Animosity is still there, but it's not like it was before, where it was like, I've been waiting for 3 years to fight this guy, and yeah, I just want to get my hands on him. I've got my hands on him now. I've beaten him. So now it's kind of like, all right, well, we're going to do it again. We're going to do it even better. Let's see what happens, you know? It's a different energy.
You see yourself knocking him out this time round?
I think so. That's the goal. That's going to be the game plan. I don't want to have another 12-round fight, so if I can get him out of there.
Unconvinced. Improvement in boxing isn't measured by promises. It's measured by performance. And historically, Dubois has come up short when it matters most. On paper, Dubois still has tools that could trouble Joseph Parker. He's younger, taller, and packs plenty of power. But Parker's advantages, experience, composure, and proven resilience against the hardest punchers in the division, carry more weight than Dubois' raw physical gifts. Dubois talks about having the sharper weapons, yet Parker has already survived the arsenals of men like Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang, fighters who hit significantly harder than Dubois. The gap between promise and proof is what makes this matchup so compelling. Parker's trainer Andy Lee highlighted one more key factor: focus. Lee questioned whether Dubois is fully locked in on Parker or if his eyes are already drifting toward bigger names and future opportunities. Against someone like Parker, distraction is dangerous, Lee warned. His confidence in Parker was unshakable. "I'm 100% confident Joseph Parker will become a two-time..."
You have to follow the weight classes. You have to follow directions and orders, and that's why we have weight classes. For 1 pound makes a huge difference. I mean, this guy was almost famous.
Time world heavyweight champion. Lee said, basing that belief on Parker's victories over Wilder and Zhang. This fight is about far more than belts or rankings. It's a battle for character, legacy, and survival. If Parker wins, he cements himself as the comeback king, a two-time heavyweight champion who silenced every doubt and dethroned the division's most feared names. If Dubois shocks the world, he rewrites his narrative, transforming from a man haunted by the word quitter to one who stood tall against an elite rival. But history favors the proven. Parker has walked through the fire and thrived under pressure. Dubois has spoken loudly, but when the storm came, he has faltered. On fight night, only one story will survive. Will Dubois rise and redeem himself? Or will Parker's calm, cold dominance strip him of everything once again? Heavyweight boxing lives for these moments where redemption collides with reality, and words must finally meet proof.